The D23 Expo, recently held in Anaheim, California, showcased the latest projects from the Walt Disney Company. Everything from Marvel to Pixar was on display. Disney and Lucasfilm took advantage of this opportunity, showing audiences a trailer for the latest film in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, The Rise of Skywalker. However, rumors continue to swirl around the potential plot of the film. Many of those rumors seem to line up with what we have seen in the trailer, which was released to the public 2 days later. In this video, we will take a look at the various claimed plot leaks of The Rise of Skywalker, how they may or may not line up with what we know and what we've seen so far in the trailers, and how these may fit into the larger context of the overall story arc. When we last left our heroes, the Resistance had been decimated. Only one ship, the Millennium Falcon, remained, and approximately only 20 Resistance fighters were left alive. The hero of the rebellion, Luke Skywalker, the man who had helped defeat the Empire and saved his father, Darth Vader, from the dark side, had died at the hands of director Rian Johnson. With the story left seemingly nowhere to go, Episode 9 director Colin Trevorrow was replaced by The Force Awakens director JJ Abrams. It should be noted that according to reports, Johnson had thrown out Abrams' original plan for the trilogy in favor of his own script. This had thrown a wrench into Trevorrow's plans, as he reportedly wanted Luke Skywalker to play an integral part in Episode 9. Any storyline going forward would have to deal with the aftermath of the events of The Last Jedi. One of the first plot details that was revealed came way back in April of 2018. The website ScreenRant.com reported that a call sheet for 2 new characters for Episode 9, named Mara and Caro, had been published by the site thathashtagshow.com. The website said they were looking for an actress between 40 and 50 years of age to play a character named Mara, and also an ethnically diverse actress between 18 and 26 years of age to play a character named Caro. Caro has a captivating naturalness, is a leader and problem solver, and also sports a sense of humor along with a strong will. It would later be revealed that Kerry Russell would be cast as the new character named Zori Bliss. Behind-the-scenes photos published in August of 2018 of the then untitled Episode 9 showed actress Naomi Ackie had joined the cast. Both of these castings would line up with the reported call sheets. What role these new characters would play in the overall story of Episode 9 was still unclear. On July 9, 2018, the HollywoodReporter.com revealed that actor Billy D. Williams was set to return as Lando Calrissian, the role he first played in The Empire Strikes Back in 1980. Billy D. Williams would not be the only Star Wars alum to make his return. As far back as October of 2018, rumors had been circulating that Emperor Palpatine would be returning in Episode 9. At Star Wars Celebration in Chicago in April, actor Ian McDiarmid took the stage to announce that he was returning as Emperor Palpatine. On August 22nd of 2018, photos surfaced on the site MakingStarWars.net of what claimed to be a jungle set located at Black Park in Wexham, Buckinghamshire, England, located near Pinewood Studios. The set photos clearly show what appears to be the circular hatch of the Millennium Falcon. The location is also very reminiscent of the forest moon of Endor from Return of the Jedi. 1 day later, the UK's The Sun revealed the first photos of Oscar Isaac's Poe, John Boyega's Finn, along with Chewbacca and actress Naomi Ackie, on set at what was described as a secret location outside of London. In December of 2018, Collider reported that actor John Boyega revealed that the plot of Episode 9 would pick up approximately 1 year after the events of The Last Jedi. Time jumps are nothing new in the Star Wars saga. Attack of the Clones takes place 10 years after The Phantom Menace, and Revenge of the Sith roughly 3 years after Attack of the Clones. In the original trilogy, a gap of approximately 3 years exists between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back, while only a gap of a few months exists between Empire and Return of the Jedi. In April of 2019, at Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, the first teaser trailer was released to the public. The film now had a title, The Rise of Skywalker. The footage featured Daisy Ridley's Rey leaping over a TIE fighter on a desert planet, Kylo Ren repairing his helmet, a much older Lando in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, Rey, Finn, Poe, Chewbacca, and C-3PO looking over a hillside at what appears to be a large section of the second Death Star that has come to rest in an ocean, presumably on the forest moon of Endor, with the footage being set to a dramatic voiceover by actor Mark Hamill. However, the biggest reveal of the teaser came at the end, with the maniacal laugh of actor Ian McDiarmid's Emperor Palpatine. Though the trailer was nearly 2 minutes in length, it revealed very little in the way of plot details. The second teaser at D23 also conveyed very little information as well. From this point forward, we are entering what may be potential spoiler territory of Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. The following plot information from here on out cannot be independently verified, and thus will have to be considered rumor. As always, we remind you to take this with a grain of salt. Approximately 1 year ago, Reddit user Foozles, who prior to The Force Awakens claimed to have read an early storyboard of that film, in which a number of plot details actually turned out to be correct, posted on Reddit what he claimed was an early plot of The Rise of Skywalker. In the post, he claims that in The Rise of Skywalker, after a period of 5 years, Kylo Ren is seen as mostly a benevolent ruler, and that the Resistance has become decentralized. Rey, Finn, Poe, and Leia still held to the belief that the galaxy should not be under Imperial rule. After receiving information from a mole inside the First Order, they embark on a mission to the unknown regions of the galaxy to discover the true nature of the First Order. After infiltrating a First Order command station, they rescue what's described as a female prodigy. Afterward, they discover a planet made entirely of an ocean, where the First Order's secrets will be revealed. Lying beneath the waters is a manufacturing facility powered by the civilizations conquered by the First Order. Upon their liberation, the conquered peoples of the unknown regions unite against the First Order. Meanwhile, Kylo uses the Knights of Ren to hunt down the traitor in his ranks, which turns out to be General Hux. Hux is attempting to incite a revolt against Kylo Ren and his regime. Hux believes he can seize power if Kylo Ren is overthrown. Force users, both young and old, have sought out Rey for her protection. This is while she continues to communicate with Kylo via their Force connection. Over time, their relationship deepens for each other. The big reveal of the film is that one of Rey's students turns out to be her child. Upon learning of this, an enraged Kylo attempts to kill Rey, who is saved at the last minute by Leia. From what we have seen, there is very little in the teasers to support any of these plot points. Interestingly enough, this first leak makes no mention of Emperor Palpatine or Lando Calrissian. So far, from what we've seen and what we definitely know, there is not enough information to determine if anything from this plot leak is accurate or not. A second leak, which is more sparse on details, from Reddit user Mizzlewump, claims that with the Resistance defeated, Rey is in search of a thing to stop the First Order. The user also purports that this is similar to the Rabbit's Foot MacGuffin in Mission Impossible 3, a film which was also directed by JJ Abrams. The Reddit user goes on to claim that the central MacGuffin is the code of an old Republic holonet system within the antenna of the second Death Star, which was something Rey learned of while salvaging junk on Jakku. He also claims that the title, The Rise of Skywalker, does not refer to Luke's physical resurrection, but the rise of his legend via a broadcast of his story throughout the galaxy, a story that was held within C-3PO's memory banks. This second leak has very little to support it in ways of evidence from the trailers. The only thing lending it any credence is the shot overlooking the wreckage of the Death Star. Another piece of evidence corroborating this claim is the apparent lightsaber duel from the second teaser on what appears to be the wreckage of the second Death Star, along with behind-the-scenes photos of the shooting locations outside of London and the hilltop overlooking the wreckage of the second Death Star. There is some evidence to suggest that parts of this could be accurate. As we will see, though this leak is sparse on details, it shares common threads with others we'll discuss. In a leak that surfaced on the site fakingstarwars.net, a source named Jasper claims, Kylo Ren is in trouble. He's pissed off the Knights of Ren who want to anoint a new leader, a former student of Snoke. He hears Rey is after a weapon she swears will beat him once and for all. The Resistance is dead. Kylo's advisors tried to convince him Rey is bluffing, and even if she raised a Death Star, she'd be no threat to him or his reign. He visits a dark side oracle who tells him otherwise, that he will maintain his rule, but that Rey will ultimately erase everything he's done from history. He doesn't like that and begins hunting her. The First Order strengthens their grip on the galaxy in Kylo's absence and officially wipes out the Resistance after a final stand by Leia and her crew. But Rey is nowhere to be found. Rey, Poe, Finn, 3PO, R2, BB-8, and the gang are in fact on a mission, where Rey promises she can provide them with something to beat Kylo forever. Kylo catches up with them but is being hunted himself by the Knights of Ren, and their new leader played by Matt Smith. Rey and Kylo fight, then Kylo fights his would-be replacement. This dynamic continues across the film until Rey finally achieves her goal. Kylo has been guided by the spirit of Palpatine through Darth Vader's old mask, but decides for himself his destiny is to rule, that no one is manipulating him and that he has come too far to turn back. Rey tries one more time to bring him back to the light after he slaughters the Knights of Ren. He refuses and she cannot defeat him in a duel. Rey raises a massive antenna from the ocean on Endor in the wreckage of the Death Star, and 3PO's memories are broadcast forever. Rey gives herself up and becomes a shield for the antenna after telling Kylo even in his rule everything he does will be undone because of what she's done. The movie ends with Luke's voice telling people to take a stand against evil, and Poe says his message will still be heard a long time from now in galaxies far, far away. Though the second Reddit leak was very lean on details, it shares some commonalities with this one, as well as the previous leak. Both reference an antenna, Rey in search of some sort of weapon to use against the First Order, that message contained within C-3PO, Luke's message being broadcast across the galaxy, and the rule of Kylo Ren. The antenna of the Death Star would also seem to be supported by the scene within the first teaser trailer, as well as the apparent duel between Kylo Ren and Rey from the second teaser. This is also notably the first mention of a Darkseid Oracle and of Doctor Who actor Matt Smith. Smith was rumored to be in The Rise of Skywalker as far back as August of 2018. However, those rumors were initially denied. Lucasfilm even went as far to remove him from the official cast listing for The Rise of Skywalker. Smith was originally rumored to be playing a younger version of Emperor Palpatine. However, this is the first mention of him in the context of the new film, a mention that has zero reference to Palpatine. With JJ Abrams' affinity for his so-called mystery box style of storytelling, Smith's inclusion in the cast and the lack of information regarding his role could either be significant in the grand scheme of things, or it could be another misdirection to throw audiences off the trail. One of the more extensive claimed plot leaks comes from the Reddit user known as Jedi Praxis. This version shares some elements with previous versions, and some details are supported by the second teaser trailer that was released at D23. The information here is quite extensive, which is why we'll be focusing on the main points. In this version, we see Leia has taken it upon herself to train Rey in the wake of Luke's passing. In a flashback sequence, Luke was training Leia in the ways of the Jedi. Leia abandons her training as she has learned she's pregnant. Kylo Ren is rampaging across the galaxy, indiscriminately killing people in search of the plot's central MacGuffin known as the Wayfinder, which he is then given by the Oracle. Using the coordinates in the Wayfinder, Kylo Ren travels to the unknown regions and finds an elderly and decrepit Palpatine, who is still alive and has somehow amassed an armada of Star Destroyers over the last 30 years since the Empire's defeat at Endor. The Star Destroyers are fitted with what's referred to as Death Star tech that gives them the ability to destroy a planet and are part of what is known as the Sith Fleet, which are home to the Sith Troopers that were unveiled at San Diego Comic-Con. Finn and Poe, who have been receiving information from an informant inside the First Order, go to a jungle planet and tell Leia about the Wayfinder. Rey, Chewbacca, and other droids travel to the desert planet of Pasaana to get in touch with Leia's contact, who turns out to be Lando Calrissian. Lando is in possession of a Sith artifact, which turns out to be a dagger with an inscription that C-3PO cannot translate. Kylo then force links with Rey and discovers their plans. After an attack from the Knights of Ren, which the Resistance crew is outnumbered, they flee and abandon the Falcon. Kylo then takes the Falcon back to his Star Destroyer. 3PO is taken to a wintry planet to have his programming altered so he can read the dagger, which it turns out was used to kill Rey's parents. The character Zori Bliss is introduced on this planet. After learning her location, Kylo tracks down Rey. The crew sneaks aboard his Star Destroyer and finds the Falcon, and Rey is confronted by Kylo Ren. Kylo taunts Rey by again telling her that her parents were nobodies, but her grandfather wasn't. Kylo tells Rey that her grandfather is actually Palpatine.
Palpatine's behind it all.
Which is why there was such an interest in someone who was seemingly a nobody from Jakku. The crew escapes with the Falcon, they hook up with Rey, and use the information obtained by 3PO to travel to Endor. Rey confronts Kylo in Palpatine's throne room in the wreckage of the Death Star, and they fight. Rey begins to feel her hatred rise within her and defeats Kylo and leaves him for dead. It's in this moment where Kylo supposedly has a vision of his deceased father, Han Solo, who tells him that it's never too late to change, and when he leaves Endor, he will leave not as Kylo Ren, but as Ben Solo. After defeating Kylo, Rey takes his Wayfinder and leaves for Ahch-To. It's in this moment where she supposedly has a vision of herself heading down the path of the dark side. This compels Rey to scuttle her ship and cast aside her lightsaber, forcing herself into exile. At this moment, Luke appears to her and tells her that she needs to finish what was started over 30 years ago. She needs to take down the Emperor once and for all. Luke passes on Leia's lightsaber. Rey transmits the coordinates of the Sith fleet and then leaves Ahch-To. Leia, now on her deathbed, sees Luke's Force Ghost and says he has one final lesson for her. Rey travels to the unknown regions where the Resistance fleet arrives to do battle with the Sith fleet. Rey finds Palpatine in his throne room. Palpatine resented that he couldn't turn Luke to the dark side and ultimately lost his grip on Vader. Rey, trapped in Palpatine's throne room, watches the battle. Kylo Ren appears and the two team up to fight Palpatine, and Rey takes up Leia's lightsaber during the battle. Luke and Leia's Force Ghosts appear and together they take down Palpatine. According to the source, it is unclear if Kylo dies during the fight. During this time, General Pride of the Resistance takes down the Sith fleet's flagship, severing communications and making it impossible to navigate the unknown regions. During the film's final scene, Rey, along with the rest of the crew, travels to Tatooine. She builds a new lightsaber using parts from Leia's and Luke's lightsabers and buries the remaining parts on the Lars' former homestead. The final shot is supposedly everyone gazing off into the dual sunsets, calling back to how the adventure began all those years ago. This alleged leak shares many plot points with previous ones, such as the Oracle, the Unknown Regions, and the reprogramming of C-3PO, all of which are supported by evidence in both teaser trailers. The second teaser also shows Rey throwing a lightsaber at what appears to be training remotes, the fleet of Star Destroyers and the red beam raining destruction, the Force vision of Dark Rey, and 3PO with his red eyes, which may indicate him being reprogrammed. The Oracle may refer to the Sith Oracle Stone from the Dark Horse comic The Empire's End, which was used to give more clarity to visions of Darkside Force users. This plot leak also seems to support that Dark Rey is a Force vision, in much the same way Luke had his dark vision in The Empire Strikes Back. However, it would seem implausible that Emperor Palpatine is still alive after having been thrown down the reactor shaft at the end of Return of the Jedi. Midnight's Edge has learned through an independent source alleged plot details of the rise of Skywalker. However, we must advise, as no one has seen the movie, these plot points cannot be independently verified. As such, they must be considered rumor and taken with a grain of salt. The source claims that in The Rise of Skywalker, Snoke's origin will be revealed. Snoke is said to be from a family consisting of a father, son, and daughter who are the living embodiment of the Force. The daughter representing the light side, the son, i.e. Snoke, representing the dark side, and the father who is the balance between the two. This plot point allegedly ties into the series The Clone Wars, where Anakin travels to the planet Mortis and is confronted by a family of powerful Force users. The family supposedly exists outside of time and can exist in the world between worlds, which is time itself. After the sister's death, the son has a vendetta against the Skywalker family. As it turns out, Kylo Ren is not the villain of the story. Snoke, the son, is. The world between worlds is being used because they are contractually not allowed to retcon any of the previous movies. The goal is said to be to course correct the events of The Last Jedi, so that the events of the previous films are viewed differently, yet they will remain unchanged. It will be through this world between worlds we will also see the late Sir Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because Snoke can see through the timeline, he can witness events through it. This is how we will see Palpatine and the events of the other movies as well, and unused footage from all the movies will be used. Our source tells us that Rey is not a nobody, but is actually a Skywalker, and the twin of Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo. She also apparently has had training prior to the events of the trilogy embedded in her. However, she requires more training. There is a potential for false memories to be placed into Rey. However, our source says that they are not sure how that will be accomplished. Luke, according to our source, is not dead. In The Last Jedi, his hand did not fall. Lucasfilm had seen what Rian Johnson was doing and mandated that his hand not fall as a way of undoing any potential damage. Luke is said to have gone to live with the WHILLS. The WHILLS are ancient keepers of the Force. They are said to have trained Yoda to become a Force ghost, and George Lucas had included them in early drafts of A New Hope. And the Journal of the WHILLS was one of the ancient texts taken by Rey in The Last Jedi. Luke has taken himself out of the fight because he believes he can help in another way. Chewbacca will meet his end in a blaze of glory heroically. The source also claims that this will be the longest Star Wars movie ever, with more music specifically created for this film than any previous Star Wars movie before it. The inclusion of the WHILLS, if accurate, would represent a deep dive into Star Wars lore. This, however, would not be the first time they were mentioned in a Star Wars movie. In Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, on the planet Jedha, Cassian Andor mentions that the blind Chirrut Imwe, played by Donnie Yen, was one of the Guardians of the WHILLS, the protector of the Temple Kyber. Kyber crystals being a power source of lightsabers and an integral part of the Jedi Order. The Journal of the WHILLS was originally included in the earliest drafts of Star Wars, with the second draft even opening with an excerpt from the Journal of the WHILLS referencing a savior, the original title of Star Wars being The Adventures of Luke Starkiller as taken from the Journal of the WHILLS. An early novelization of Star Wars: A New Hope, ghostwritten by Alan Dean Foster, references the Journal of the WHILLS in its prologue, while detailing the rise of Emperor Palpatine, the fall of the Jedi and the Republic, and the start of the Rebellion. The Force Awakens novelization, also written by Foster, opens with an entry from the journal. George Lucas said of the WHILLS, "Originally, I was trying to have the story be told by somebody else, an immortal being known as a Will. There was somebody watching this whole story and recording it, somebody probably wiser than the mortal players in the actual events. I eventually dropped this idea, and the concepts behind the WHILLS turned into the Force. But the WHILLS became part of this massive amount of notes, quotes, background information that I use for the scripts. The stories were actually taken from the Journal of the WHILLS. Though the details revealed here cannot be verified until the movie's release, there is reason to believe there might be some validity to these claims. Director Kevin Smith recently drew the comparison between The Rise of Skywalker and Avengers Endgame, the latter which uses time travel as its central plot point. Could this be an apt comparison? Could Kevin Smith, a Hollywood insider in all things geek culture, know something that we don't? For over 40 years, the Star Wars saga has thrilled audiences both young and old. Unfortunately, in recent years, it has been placed in a position it has never found itself in before, one of attempting to repair the damage inflicted upon it by its worst enemy, itself. Leave your thoughts in the comments below and tell us if you are interested or not interested in seeing any of these potential plots played out in The Rise of Skywalker.